Welcome back to In Business. Year after year, we pay out money to the government for taxes at various levels. But what do we get for it? There's a lot of services, but how about getting some of the cash back? There are two programs that are available, SR&ED and IRAP. SR&ED, or spelled S-R-E-D, stands for Scientific Research and Experimental Development, and IRAP, spelled I-R-A-P, is Industrial Research Assistance Program. In the studio today, we have Fred Hausman. Fred is the founder of the FRED Group. FRED stands for Funding, Research, and Experimental Development. Fred, welcome to the show, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Dave.
First, help us understand what your company does, the FRED Group. Some people would have said, okay, it's Fred Hausman, and you've got a big ego, and so you just named your company after yourself. But a blind coincidence. There was something behind the marketing of that, actually, wasn't there?
Well, yeah. I went through with this company. I went through a complete marketing and branding exercise, and tried to, we went through a number of different names, and the name FRED kind of came up as something that, the acronym makes sense. It's a play off of shred, and it's also it's been a very powerful marketing tool. It definitely sticks.
Fred from SR&ED.
Fred from SR&ED.
You also sponsor the RIC Center, the Research, Innovation, and Commercialization Center. How did that relationship start?
I was involved on the advisory board for them. And I guess a year ago, I went to see some of their, they have a breakfast speaker series, which is fantastic. I highly recommend it. Where they'll have different topics that are relevant to entrepreneurs. And I just thought it was a great thing. And the opportunity came up for me to be the main sponsor of that event. And so that's what we've done this year, and it's been great.
Now, how does that work in? How does what the RIC Center does work into what you do through SR&EDs and IRAPs?
They're a little bit sort of side by side. What the RIC Center does, or one of the things that they do, is it's really to help entrepreneurs and to help companies grow their business, especially surrounding innovations and pushing them forward. So they have entrepreneurs in residence there that'll help guide them and help mentor them there, as well as having the speaker series where just any entrepreneur can come in and learn about things that are key to them or are very relevant. What SR&ED does is the SR&ED component really kind of is a way to obtain, one of the ways to obtain funding, and kind of how we differentiate ourselves through the FRED Group. And what we do is that when you actually do a SR&ED claim, an SR&ED claim, you learn a lot about the company. You learn a lot about their technology, the issues that they're facing, as well as you get a deep financial look at that. And what we do that's different in the marketplace is we actually take that information and leverage that to help the company drive more growth in the company, and we actually invest a portion of our fees back into that company to help them grow.
Now, when do you ask for those fees? Is it part of the SR&ED money coming back?
It's all contingency fee based. It's all which is pretty standard out there. Not completely standard, but it's usually contingency fee based.
So whatever I'm getting back from the government, you're going to take a portion of it.
Well, in terms of just as any service provider would provide fees, but then what we'll do is we'll reinvest a portion of that back into the company.
And that's your unique offering.
Yes, and when we're able to do that is that through that R&D process, as I mentioned, you learn deeply about that company. And we have a series of partners in the top-tier firms in the areas primarily of business development, sales and marketing, and advertising, right, which will then help analyze that company and identify areas where we believe they could benefit most from. And then what we'll do is we'll pay for some services from those providers to be performed for that client to drive growth and value.
The contingency fee, how much does that usually run? What percentage do firms take?
It really ranges out there in the marketplace. The fees have been coming down progressively more and more and more. Contingency fees typically a couple of years back were about 35%, but they're come down, and now they're more like 20-25%. Some are a little bit lower than that, but it depends on a number of factors. It depends on how large the claim is, how many projects are involved in that claim. It depends, if they're a first-time claimer and there may not be very much there, then it's a larger fee. But there's also fixed fee providers out there, and there's also time and materials providers out there as well.
Now, how do you decide how big a claim you want to get involved with, or will you go in and do a SR&ED or an IRAP claim on any particular project?
Well, we view it as we're really trying to build long-term relationships with companies. That's really what it's about, and that's really kind of our strategy around providing additional services to them. So we'll work with very small claimants, and help coach them. Quite often what will happen is we'll find clients who they've done great R&D work, right? But the money you get back is based on the money you've spent. So if you haven't and the largest portion of that is on wages, so T4 wages. So you will often have a situation where you'll have the key people in the company, the owners, won't have paid themselves a T4 wage. And so as a result, when you go to do that calculation, it's not a very big claim because there's nothing to claim. They haven't actually paid themselves, right?
So that's kind of a paradoxical situation where you've got to claim your wages back, but because you're in the infancy stages, you don't pay yourself anything.
Well, exactly. And
so are they out of luck? They can't claim anything?
They can't claim their wages. Maybe they paid some contractors, maybe there's some materials and stuff, but it can be a very small claim. But then what we found is we can work with them and their accounting firm to come up with a strategy that's going to maximize their overall dollars they're going to receive. So, for example, it may make sense for them to pay themselves 50 grand, like if they're drawing 40 or 50 grand a year, maybe it makes sense to pay that because if that's fully eligible, if you have someone who's making $100,000 in wages for work done in Ontario when it's fully eligible, the company will get a check back for $68,000. That's huge.
And when we come back with Fred Hausman, we are going to talk more about the shreds. We're going to talk about exactly what a shred is. We'll be back with Fred Hausman, extracting money from the government